नमस्कार, जय हिंद, जय भारत एंड वेलकम टू डेफ टॉक्स। दिस इज आदि एजेंट। मेरे साथ हैं लेफ्टिनेंट जनरल राज शुक्ला, जो ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के बारे में जिन्होंने काफी डीपली बात करी थी। सर, नमस्कार, गुड इवनिंग। फर्स्टली थैंक यू आपके सर्विस के लिए, बिकॉज यू रियली स्पेंट अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम ऑन टेलीविजन, ऑन शोज एक्सप्लेनिंग व्हाट्स हैपनिंग इन ऑपरेशन सिंदूर, एंड स्पेशली आपने जो बात करी थी ऑन द चाइनीज एंगल, वो बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग थी। सम टाइम अगो सर, मैंने वाइस एडमिरल शेखर सिन्हा से भी बात करी थी ऑन द चाइनीज एंगल, एंड ही प्रोवाइडेड सम इनपुट्स। अब मैंने जो आपसे बात करनी थी इस मिलिट्री लर्निंग्स फ्रॉम दिस पर्टिकुलर कॉन्फ्लिक्ट। क्या हुआ था इसके अंदर, हाउ कैन वी लर्न मोर फ्रॉम व्हाट हैपेंड, एंड सर नेक्स्ट हमारा, आई मीन गॉड फॉरबिड द कॉन्फ्लिक्ट विद चाइनीज, if there are 400 drones here, I think there will be 4,000 there. How do we kind of deal with it, just as an example, because quantum will matter with China. तो आप क्या देखते हैं मिलिट्री लर्निंग्स फ्रॉम ऑपरेशन सिंदूर?
So, see, I look at it this way, these points. First, it is a seminal moment for our statecraft, just not the military, strategic military, diplomacy, everything. It is a very significant strategic evolution. Evolution from what? I'll just come to it. But as you said, it is a warning bell for the greater dangers that lie ahead. And so let's look at this. So without going too far back, as the Indian state grew, we had to take a call on where we will place our instrument of force in the strategic calculus. So baat wahan se shuru hoti hai. And for a long time we thought, we were ambiguous to it. We said, baad mein dekhenge, pehle let's get on with our economy, let's grow, so on and so forth. There were various periods. 62, of course, was a major reversal. 71 was a major moment of triumph. May I also say that under Mr. Rajiv Gandhi, we had one of our best periods when he and General Sundarji got on well, and our defense spending went past 3%, and we did a lot of mechanization. How it relates to Pakistan is brass tacks. So exercise brass tacks was this massive exercise, armor mech, which only somebody with Sundarji's genius could do. And the signaling was that, listen, if we just, this India's mechanized prowess, if it wheels, westwards, Pakistan will be balkanized. And the guy who got the message was the Pakistan military, Mirza Aslam Beg, who did a kind of response with Zarb-e-Mumin, which was a very feeble response. He did a response, but the deeper conclusions they made was this, that India cannot be meddled with conventionally. Conventional might is too much. Let's not touch the Indians here. But they devised that low-cost option of, terror, jihadi stuff in the valley, Punjab, this whole western borders, and that became their state policy. A few years down the line, when they went nuclear, they played another card, what I call the schoolboy nuclear bluff, which was create this under nuclear cover, go on a terror rampage. And in this recent book of General Vij, Alone in the Ring, he documents it very well, what they did, how they played this nuclear card, terror rampage, notoriously after Kalluchak. So what was Pakistan's statecraft now? It said that terror is a low cost option, क्योंकि हम terror करेंगे और अगर आप कोई conventional response करेंगे, हम ये nuclear rattle छेड़ेंगे, and the West will say, no, calm down, nuclear subcontinent, and you will be forced to back off, and you will be able to do nothing. So let me tell you, Parakram, if you recall, was when the heart of the parliament was struck. There couldn't have been a bigger challenge to us. And when we were mobilized after Parakram, I was a lieutenant colonel, they did Kalluchak, which was a gruesome massacre of military families in Kalluchak, Jammu. There couldn't have been a graver provocation. The mood was similar as in Pahalgam. And Prime Minister Vajpayee said, "Aar paar ki ladai." And all we military guys thought 2 days, 3 days. And immediately what did the Pakistanis do? In come Kidwai and Hamid Gul, nuclear rattle. Same stuff. What are our nuclear weapons for? Not to be kept in museums. 7 days later, Ghaznavi is fired, nuclear capable. 7 more days later, Abdali is fired, nuclear capable. The West says, oh, what's happening? US says, begins to thin out people from their embassies. American businesses leave. And the whole rhetoric narrative in the West with many people from India is behaving irresponsibly. आप लड़ाई कर रहे हो, देखो क्या instability हो रही है. If I were Pakistani, I would chuckle, यार बड़ी अच्छी चीज है ये. मैं मारूं, फिर ये nuclear rattle wave करूं और ये सब बेवकूफ. The gullible West, part of Indians, this is gullible thing, and we started saying strategic restraint. Now, Mr. Jaswant, General Vij records in the book, Mr. Jaswant Singh, by the way, whom I respect a lot, he was a BJP man. He says the objective of Parakram was to stop terrorism without conflict, underlining without conflict. He said the objective of Parakram was to contain the Indian outrage. मतलब mobilize करो, coercion करो, जानते हैं लड़ाई नहीं होगी, just to pacify the Indians. And he says my most taxing challenge was to teach the military chiefs how to exercise restraint. अब बताओ military chiefs war fighting के लिए हैं या restraint के लिए हैं? So this strategic restraint became a matter of highbrow intellect. और forces में भी बड़े लोग बोलने लगे, restraint, the power is restrained. So the Pakistanis went laughing all the way to the bank. कि अजीब बेवकूफ है यार, इनको मारो, ये फिर restraint. And let me capture the mood of those times. I have in various programs I have said this, but let me repeat it because it's very convincing to me. The mood of those times, the sheer frustration, despair was captured by Arun Shore when he said, not an eye for an eye, not a tooth for a tooth, for one eye, both the eyes, for a tooth, the whole jaw. This was the Indian mood कि साहब कुछ तो करिए. ये जो लाचारता थी, क्या कहते हैं, मनोदशा, this mood कि हम कुछ कर ही नहीं सकते. 2611, it repeats itself. Strategic restraint, strategic restraint. Another luminary mocked the instrument of force. He was, mocking the Air Force. उल्लास, मजाक. He says, आपकी Air Force है ना, ये ग्वालियर से उड़ती है, जू 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 करती है, बिना दुश्मन पे हमला किए चुपचाप अंबाला में लैंड कर जाती है. And he was mocking the instrument of force. What are your $90 billion for अगर कुछ करना ही नहीं है? Mr. KPS Gill captured it very well. He gave professional advice. He said, you will not win the war on terror merely by chasing terrorists. What we've been doing for 2 decades. You will win it by overwhelming the adversary. This is what we finally did in Sindoor. Travels and meets Mr. Sharif. Whatever his granddaughter's wedding or daughter's wedding, something like that. Granddaughter's wedding, I think. And then when that Pathankot attack comes, I mean, in good nature, good neighborliness, we say, okay, come, let's investigate jointly. And these chaps go back and say कि इन्होंने खुद पे हमला किया. अभी पहलगाम के बाद somebody like Najam Sethi says it's a false flag operation. I mean, idiocy of the highest order. I'm just recounting it for your younger viewers. While restraint is not a good idea, it shows how our statecraft has evolved. So this time we said, we will not give the evidence, we will hit you and you will produce the evidence. Enough of the damn evidence. And we said, we'll call your schoolboy nuclear bluff. ये आपका स्कूली झांसा है, nuclear. ना आपका दम है उसको use करने का, and we have the generalship in the statecraft to calibrate our offensive. We will keep it short of your headlines. We know what your headlines are. Now, this is high generalship, high statecraft. And therefore, you have to see the whole transition from restraint to what I call offensive poise. अब मजा आता है यार, ये military होती है. Has to hit. Then we were a lumbering instrument. 24 महीने mobilize किया, कुछ किया ही नहीं. This time we are showed we are a sophisticated instrument of long-range precision. कहाँ छुपोगे वहाँ घुस घुस के मारेंगे. Long-range precision, technologically enabled, calibrated. So I say that, that one sentence is that I have made this quote on your show many times, Chanakya, when he said, शास्त्र को भूलोगे, संस्कृति खो दोगे, शस्त्र का त्याग करोगे तो राष्ट्र ही खो दोगे. In that sense, India has rediscovered the utility of force. कि भाई कब इस्तेमाल करना है, कैसे इस्तेमाल करना है, we have rediscovered. That is a seminal moment for me. But as you say, let's not underestimate our adversaries. Sharif and Munir have gone rushing to Turkey, Iran and all that. They are shopping, arms shopping. Pakistan will hit back in the next 8 to 9, 10 months. There's already this talk of J10 being, fast tracked by August, the stealth. Now the air equation is such that if J20 aa gaye, the balance will change again. So we have to be very careful on these fronts. And the larger issue, what I think Vice Admiral Sinha also was maybe hinting at, I have no evidence, but I have this great hunch कि China, if I am China and I'm looking at India, इनके दोनों flanks जो हैं, इनमें आग लगा. ये पाकिस्तान वाले flank में तो ये हमेशा तैयार रहते हैं. Pakistan, Turkey here. What worries me more, Aadi, is this Bangladesh. And I once again say that great analysis by Rami on your show. Look at what is happening there. The ISI chief has traveled 4 times. The Americans, even under Biden, a supposedly friendly Biden, talked of St. Martin's. Hasina was moved out. When Hasina goes to Beijing, surprisingly, a 4-day visit is reduced to a 2-day visit. She's snubbed by the Chinese. The message goes to the Jamaat guys and the students in Dhaka, nudge and wink, कि आप कुछ करो. अभी क्या हो रहा है वहां पे? This guy knows, Yunus knows that he cannot win the elections at the moment. So reform. Reform means trial of Sheikh Hasina. और उसके लिए चाहिए शायद 4 साल ये वो. और the PNP, which is in a, currently it's in a position to win the elections, उनको ये करने मत दो. So ये reforms वगैरह. Suddenly discovers the landlockedness of the northeast, Lal Monerat Air Base. तो इधर तो परेशानी है ही. Pakistan, Turkey, China, and this and all, China comes with all its Baidu satellites, 44 Baidu satellites, the entire space bit, J10, J17s, all that PL-15 stuff, HQ-9B, the advanced version of the HQ-9. And here, why could the next terror attack not come from Bangladesh? Bilkul, it is right. Those Jamaat guys, the number of terrorists who have been released after Hasina was ousted from Bangladeshi jails. The Rohingyas have very deep networks with insurgents. This corridor could be weaponized in terms of weapons and drugs. Achha, China ke saath to already along its borders there are issues. There is the IOR 400 ship navy. So I am now saying the second point, that I cannot think of a country which has a grimmer strategic environment than we do. Perhaps Israel will be the only one which comes close. So this is a good call, and I'm not making a call for mindless militarization, but I'm saying please be very conscious of national security. You will not rise unless you secure yourself wholesomely in terms of national security. This may be the beginning. It's a good wake-up call. You have to secure your rise. And there are multiple factors. The smartest way for China to keep you in place is by keeping your flanks burning. Why do anything to you at all? There is no immediate evidence, but they are very strong hunches. Very strong hunches. So now in that evolution of statecraft game, the final point I'd make is that if your foreign policy is going to be muscular, which it must, given the strategic environment we are in, make sure your instrument of force is nourished, it is in the highest states of readiness, and it is lethal. That means it wins. Winnability is extremely important. And to do this, you will have to do a host of things, even revisiting the economic metrics of your statecraft. You know, last week in the Times of India, there were two young Indians. You must get them on your show. I'm forgetting their names, who wrote an article on why we must increase our spending on defense. And this is fascinating. They say that for every rupee that the Indian government spends in a non-military sector, the fiscal multiplier is 1, which means you crowd out private investments, it's not productive. Now, this economic metric everybody must listen to. They say every rupee that you spend on defense because of R&D, productivity and other reasons generates another rupee for the GDP, fiscal multiplier of 2, which is this myth which has been spread that defense is non-productive is a lie. And trust those young economists to say this, which means defense spending, this guns versus growth, is a false debate. Defense can pump prime the economy. Defense nourishes the economy. So we must get all these larger pieces together and then look at the military metrics. So just by way of opening remarks, I wanted to say how we have evolved, seminal moment, rediscovering the utility of force, but the battle is not won. अभी तो क्या कहते हैं, बड़ा दूर है, whatever, दिल्ली दूर है, or whatever it is. And our Viksit Bharat is a very aspirational dream. It seems in our grasp. Let us not, let not that dream be punctured by its military or strategic military incompetence. It will be such a tragedy. We really have to secure our rise. So that's the point I'm making. And I somehow think this time it will happen. Whole national mood has changed. The younger people know why national security is important. They understand its importance. Last week, I was at a leadership summit in Bombay to the corporate guys, Aadi. And initially they were telling me, leadership, your career journey. I said, I'll not speak about my journey. I'm going to speak about our national security futures. Why you need to understand Bombay is not secure. Your businesses are not secure. And I was amazed at the response I got. So this business of, I'm not making a case for jackbooting around the world or for a militarized environment. I'm saying precise, technologically enabled, chiseled instrument of force under firm political control. Firm. Look at the tragedy. Here we are a professional army, capable military under political control. There, we are an unprofessional army, a losing army, bucking political control. So I think we are in a very sweet spot if we can get all these things together. But these narratives and ideas also have to fall in place. Some myths which have been growing, defense spending is unproductive. You get those two young guys there, I'll share an article with you. I'm forgetting Aditya somebody and somebody. This is the kind of thought we need, original thought, unvarnished thought to fuel, drive and secure India's rise.
Sir, I'll ask you this, when you look at the collusion that was done by China and Turkey, I personally take it as a factor that this was, I won't say 3 enemies versus 1, but I would say probably 1.5 versus 1. A lot of assets have been reported by various OSINT handles now that the YV-5, the transport aircraft from China had landed. They brought in personnel, they brought in experts, they brought in some special systems. The Turkish had personnel there flying, helping out with the drones and this and that. One of the reasons probably we've hit that Murid command and control center of the drones as well to send a larger message, which is coming out now. The factor that I want to ask you is that with all this stuff combined together, and do you think China put its best foot forward by, giving what it did to Pakistan? Or was it testing its mass equipment, as per se?
See, when the Chinese do this kind of stuff, we shouldn't be surprised. I was not surprised, not one bit. Even Turkey did not surprise me. 2 months back, Erdogan was on a trip here. He's been wanting to be the leader of the Islamic world. He's come to Pakistan, Indonesia, Malaysia. और ये सब इसने drone deals वगैरह की. I suspect what happened that those drones which came, they came in too late. So they were not fully harnessed in this thing. So वो drones आए, कुछ फटे फुटे. They were not those real Turkish drones. You know, powerful, offensive. I suspect this. And therefore they've gone back shopping again. Both Shahbaz Sharif and Asim Munir were in Turkey, Iran and all that. So next time you may get better stuff from the Turks, more lethal, more potent from the Turks in terms of drones and all. Chinese, it hasn't surprised me one bit. We knew all the Beidou satellites, entire space, entire targeting, J10, J17, PL15. मतलब इन बेशर्मों के पास है क्या? तो सब तो चीन का है. They were just operating the Chinese inventory. It should actually be a matter of shame, though they play it with, they play it as a chip on their shoulder. But look at the Chinese. When Wang Yi is asked about Russia, he says, sir, do you have a treaty? He says, we are so close, we don't need a treaty. The West is gullible. China has given Russia 90% of their legacy ships, 70% of all their CNC equipment, and anything which is dual use that they needed. So similarly, they will give. So it is actually not 3:1, it is 2:1 because Pakistan is 0. So it is China and Turkey doing this here, but it should also now see what should please us, but we should be cautious about this. So the first night, when we took a bit of a knock, their J10, J17, PL15, they were brandishing this all over. Air Marshal Aurangzeb was on TV and, Fizaya ne ye kiya, Fizaya ne wo kiya.
But they couldn't do much. The damage वो तो सिर्फ drone shots ही मारे.
No, because we had, taken that decision of not hitting the infantry targets first, of hitting their terror targets as part of our strategic design. But on the second, third, and fourth night, they were missing.
They just didn't fly, sir. This is something which I don't understand.
And I'm surprised we are not making this narrative in the Western media. And I'm surprised the Western media hasn't got it right. I ask, what happened to the J10, the J17, the HQ9 on the second, third, and fourth night? Have you ever seen a nation caving in so badly? We hit Sargodha, we hit Noor Khan, we hit Rafiki, we hit Ardu, Bholari, F-16s, C-130s, AVAX. Where were you? So I'm saying we have nothing to hide, pal. You were naked, exposed. If we had gone on for 48 hours, aapki kya dasha hoti? And whom are you hiding from? You came begging, your DGMO came begging our DGMO. So this narrative must go on there. What are you talking? And this is from a Fizaya who was respected, whom even the Indian Air Force respected.
Mm-hmm.
But sadly, something has gone wrong. I am telling you, my AD has surprised me. I thought they were strong on AD. And it is a lovely chakra view because when you came hitting us, you ran into an AD wall. This, what is that?
Akash Tir.
S-100, Akash Tir, L-70, Shilka. And yet, I am the first to say that this AD wall may not be good enough for China. Let's beef it up. So honesty, transparency is always the best thing. And on those metrics, I'm challenging them. Where were you? Which Air Force leaves its country abandoned like this? Har base mara jata hai aapka, which says that, AD was with the Pak Army. It hasn't done well. So the Pak Air Force rightly said, we've won this war for you. So there was this huge problem. Now, how to restore the armies? Pak Army, the Pak Army. It is like, two children fighting. The younger one has done well. but elder one has to be pacified. He's the elder son. तो उसको आपने field marshal बना दिया. So phony that nobody takes you seriously. यार कुछ किया होता तो आपको हम appreciate करते. I would have genuinely appreciated. We are fair people. What the hell have you done? You're being elevated for this. क्या वहाँ क्या हो रही है बात? Very interesting. कि जो पुराने जनरल साहब थे ना बाजवा, उनकी तो टांगे कांप रही थी जब वो उसको छोड़ना था, विंग कमांडर अभिनंदन. मुनीर साहब ने बोला लड़ेंगे, तो मुनीर साहब ने बोला लड़ेंगे बट हारेंगे, और हार गया और फील्ड मार्शल बन गया. I mean, go on, childhood bloody puerile stuff. But I'm the first one to say that we must not underestimate them. So we have to see, and see one more question, Aadi, we have to see very seriously. The strategic autonomy, it works in peace. But let's look at the history of strategic autonomy. 62, we know what happened. Prime Minister Nehru, wrote a letter to President Kennedy begging for military help. 1971, it was the Indo-Soviet Friendship Treaty. This time also, when push came to shove, we realized that the entire moral advantage was with us. We had been hit, we were hitting back, and yet we were autonomous. So when push comes to shove, we have to be on our own. Therefore, Atmanirbharta, therefore the right deals, or let's look for some partners. And let me say this openly, that in the last 4 to 5 months, the Americans have disappointed very, very greatly. Yep. Their whole stuff in Bangladesh, the sudden hyphenation back, this is not a very welcome development. So we have to get real and see, what are our partnerships, Quad, whatever. Or if we are on our own, and let's resource our military instrument, not the military, the strategic military enterprise. We really need to step up our game.
There's no question, sir.
So I'm saying celebration, we've done very well. Let me say it's a pretty overwhelming military victory. I have not seen this in my 4 decades of service, because I was commissioned after 71, one of an outstanding military victory. And yet, as all good nations, good professional forces must do, introspection, what was right, what was wrong, and preparation for the larger challenges that lie ahead. And as I said, China here, Western horizons, Bangladesh is no longer an instability, it is a new national security reality. Look what they are doing to the Hindu minorities there. I don't trust this Muhammad Yunus administration one bit. Let me also tell you one thing about your American foreign policy.
Sir.
I think it'll be interesting to your viewers. Now that Trump has been in power for a while, it appears that his foreign policy establishment has 3 segments or 3 strands. One was that double down all in. China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, strengthen your military, no regional hegemon in any corner of the globe. That was Mike Waltz. He's been shown the door. So that segment goes. There's another segment read by Elbridge Colby, which is saying, pull out from other theaters, laser focus on China. Laser focus on China. But here they put a caveat. They've said, we'll come to your rescue, Taiwan, only if you step up your defense budget to 10%. By the way, Taiwan and Taliban are the only 2 countries which come out openly in our favor. So we must do all that we can to help Taliban. It will challenge Pakistan on its western frontiers and Taiwan. They've had the courage to come out against for us. So this is a problem here. And the most likely, the most powerful segment there is the one led by J.D. Vance, which is retreat to the American hemisphere. So focus on Greenland. What is all that stuff? Greenland and Canada. And southern border.
Today they've already said,
if they're going to abandon the Indo-Pacific, and if they leave Taiwan to China, then this one tiger on a hill battle is going to be fought. And with Trump, it is very, very likely. Because, one crypto deal and there goes Indian friendship. What does this man can't? Can't really trust it. So we are at a very important, shall I say, uh, this trisection of geopolitics. We have to be astute. We have to take these decisions and see what instruments we need to nurse.
So lastly, I want to ask you one very interesting, bit. When you today seeing 2, 3 feedback coming from across the world, sir, and these are serious military watchers from Russia. Serious military. I'm not talking about the guys who came on TV, Tom Cooper and all these guys. These are serious military watchers in the sense chaps who've been in the military podcasting and this and that, and guys who've been covering the Russia-Ukraine war, the Israel war for a long. They have started asking one question now. They said, how are the Indians so good with the S-400? That is one question that they've asked. Because the Russians have the same system and the drones are pretty much flying inside Russia with impunity. Second question they're asking is, why is it that the use of air power is different within the Indian subcontinent and the use of air power is different within the US and the Russian war? The US hitting the Houthis for 1,000 raids and this and that. That is the second. And third one, sir, a lot of people are saying, what was the military push, the ground forces push that was done by India, which basically would have added to the, in quotes, capitulation of Pakistan?
So one is, I think, the two flanks which have not got so highlighted in kinetic terms, but they would have put great pressure. One is the maritime dimension. We had just come back from an exercise. We were all prepared. We just reloaded and went out again. And the deterrent coercive posture that we adopted, I mean, Pakistan knew it didn't stand a chance there. And I'm a little surprised why we have never opened up from the seas. See, how is it escalatory? I don't understand. Air power, Kargil, Air Commodore Jasjeet argued that if you use air power, it will be escalatory, it will go to the nuclear dimension. Finally, when we used it, we turned out that it is battle winning, absolute battle winning. Similar, what are these hesitancies with naval power? For example, why can't we strike land targets from the seas? It would put great pressure. Great pressure. The Americans do it on a day-to-day basis in Red Sea and all that. So we have always been underwhelming with our naval prowess. I don't know for what reason. When we have great advantages there. In fact, it is a flank of decision. Next time it may be the flank of decision. So Pakistan already knew this. That was one reason. Let's go to the air power. See, one thing has changed in air power, and that is these BVR engagements are kind of stalemating. So he stays off, we stay off. It is a function of a lot of things, EW, so on and so forth. But the air power cannot be used in a sustained manner. So the Russian air power has not been used even in Ukraine. We need to take this serious doctrinal call. What if on the first night, the strikes had gone in with unmanned platforms? So first night, unmanned platforms, follow up with a combination of manned, for which our Air Force will have to take a very serious doctrinal call of 50% being unmanned and 50% being manned. The Army itself also. We have got three commands which look at the Western borders. The Western Command, Southwest Command, Southern Command. One of these strike corps must be restructured, repurposed for long-range kinetics. It cannot be mech armor. कि भाई terror attack हुआ, हमने armor launch कर दिया. वो in the current frame, it doesn't fit into the politico-military calculus. So a strike corps which focuses on long-range kinetics, combination of loiter, drones of various kinds, FPVs, so on and so forth, you can really hit him hard. This is what the Ukrainians have been doing. They don't have an air force. So per force, they have developed dronery as a science. So the Pakistani dronery was, absolutely amateurish. So it caused no effect. Ours is not so developed. Once we develop it, like the Ukrainians have done, Aadi, in Russia, in Ukraine, 80% of Russian casualties in men and equipment have come not from infantry, not from adversary artillery. I'm a gunner and I'm telling you that, but from drones. So it is that I'm saying let's raise the drone missile force, or One of the strike corps must be looking at drones, missiles. Next time, they should be far more sophisticated, layered, precise. So next time, we should be able to take out not the brother-in-laws of Masood Azhar, but Masood Azhar himself. GOC 30. These are the signs of a force growing in calibration, in precision, in sophistication. So these things we need to do. So I'm saying when BVR has stalemated, and I'm an army guy, so we please must take the opinions of Air Force chap. When BVR is stalemated, the only two breakout options are drone missile force and a very strong AD topology. So this time Akash Tir has done well, but it needs great layering. For example, the Israelis, they have their Iron Dome, then they have, and together in a truly AI-enabled network. Why are the Americans spending $175 billion for the Golden Dome? They want to secure the American homeland. Hamare argument kya hai? The professional argument is India is too big to secure. Sorry, in war you can't say this. You can't say that I cannot secure Siliguri. The professors will be very strong. So you need an India-wide AD topology. You will have to find the money for it. So while we have done this time well, and you're right, the Chinese, I mean, they are, see, Chinese ke yaar do cheezein. Ya to they are a whole lot of social media fluff. They could be 100 generals being sacked, corruption, all that. But their capacity building is so strong that you cannot base it on the two assumptions. And therefore, their missile force and all, and see, we already got a sense of it. When those cities were being hit, we were worried. तो सारे शहरों पे अगर drones वगैरह गिर रहे हैं, so I think this is what happened this time. But drones are the future. AD topology is the future. We have to change to these long-range precision strike capacities. And here, there have to be some fundamental truths addressed. Unless you put satellites in the LEO space, we are absent in the LEO space. You must call a guy called Suyash, who's working on this Galaxy and all. Galaxy space car. He's a space enthusiast author. He will tell you, and he agrees with me. He said, if we are absent in the LEO space, we don't have these military capacities. So there are very good lessons, and I'm sure people in the services would be drawing them. But from the external environment, INU can help them with this high quality ideation if it is right. And technological innovation is the future. So I have been saying, and perhaps it is being mooted also, the Army Training Command must now metamorphose into an Army Futures Command. And that Futures Command should be given just one objective: drive technological innovation through the Army. Make the strike corps an instrument of long-range precision. We can do that. We must do it fast because the Pakistanis are returning in a year and a half, and the Chinese threat looms large. And see, last point I want to make. What we do in India is episodic nourishing of our forces from crisis to crisis. तो पराक्रम में किया, फिर सिंदूर में किया. We need to nourish them in terms of enduring capacities. Which means what? कि देखो अब से लेके 2047 तक crisis होगी. देखो, when I was young, क्या धारणा थी? The larger Indian statecraft was secure the external environment, create a benign internal environment so that we can grow. 143 crore citizens we can grow. Wonderful, made great sense. But today the reality is that it will not happen. We will have to secure our rise amongst multiple crisis, conflicts and confrontations. So अब से लेके 2047 तक crisis होगी, conflicts होगी. कुछ हम हारेंगे, कुछ हम जीतेंगे. Every time everything will not go right. But we have to build these enduring capacities. A long-range precision strike force, naval platforms, space in an all-round manner. They have to be, immediate, mid-term, long-term, but in a sustained basis. So, जिस दिन हम में ये विवेक आ जाएगा, we get this kind of philosophies going, I think we will be doing far better.
That's an interesting thing. So, just a comment about the air power utilization in Russia, Ukraine, and America as well, just to close the subject. What would you kind of say?
So see, there are you ask this, and good professionals, it's a good debate. Ki bhai, why has air power not worked in Russia, Ukraine? They said they didn't handle it properly. We will handle it. Now here I have a quarrel. The Russian Air Force also is a sophisticated Air Force. It's nobody's fault. Today, you see the ranges at which you are engaging. Abhi humne dekh liya yaar, 150, once you have very little time to go up, release that weapon before you are spotted. So I'm saying, please listen, these beyond visual range engagements, the dogfight is out. To hoti nahi hai abhi. The BVR engagements are stalemated. The leverage is less. So if a smart Air Force complements this kind of prowess with a very powerful drone unmanned force, your effects will grow. Or you have the Israeli option. Now, what is the Israeli option? They are stealth-enabled offensive air power. Stealth, which means, okay, a good question you asked. How did the Iranian S-400s get struck? Because the Israelis had stealth-enabled offensive power. You don't have it. You have to stay off. He can go. And Israel has the great sophistry of America at their beck and call. उनकी एजिस डिस्ट्रॉयर्स शिप से आपको टारगेटिंग देते हैं. जब ये अटैक होती है, वो थार्ड की 2 बैटरीज मूव होती हैं. You know, they get everything that the American CENTCOM commander is sitting in your office. We don't have that. So we must not draw those comparisons. It must be realistic. So I'm saying stealth-enabled defensive air power. We have to get our stealth platforms. AMCA is very good news. See, this time it is different. It is not HAL alone. It is a joint venture. It is with private sectors. AMCA can be a very real possibility. But AMCA will not be done by 2.5 lakh engineers. For AMCA, you will have to get 6 crore wale engineers. So shop for that talent. Just as you shop for platforms, shop for talent. Go to the best Indian minds here, there, and get them back for AMCA. और अगर हमने ये किया determination के साथ, we can produce this stealth aircraft. And in the meantime, whatever we have to shop, we must shop. But I'm very glad if these things start working. The AMCA platform is indigenous. You know, these are the things which will secure us in the long run. So air power, I'm saying this war, let me concede, this was air power in Aadi. Hats off to our colleagues from the Air Force. This is their moment. I mean, I'll be the first to concede. But see what we must not do now. I see some debates coming up. Because air power worked, we don't need theater commands. This kind of stuff should not start off.
Oh, no. We need everything. This was a theater war, sir. Yeah. Absolutely agreed, sir. Absolutely agreed. This was a theater war at the end of it. You're absolutely right, sir. I've been seeing that and I'm dead against that. Absolutely correct. You know, it's something that I think you've written about. We've spoken about it on the platform as well. It's military modernization is something which is desperately needed. And for the next generation of warfare, a sample of which we've given right now, we need to kind of...
I keep pointing this out. In last November's Foreign Affairs, there was a piece on total war by Meera Kalin or somebody, a civilian. You read that piece, Aadi, it resonates with military minds. Where are India's civilian professionals who push their military to higher vistas of achievement? When you write, it should resonate with me. Ki yaar, ye baat banda sahi keh raha hai. That ideation, civil-driven ideation in military stuff, where is our war on the rocks? You must have a platform like that. Tactical stuff. Now, you guys are doing a very good job. Perhaps it's an idea for you to grow these platforms. So national security ideation also needs to be of a very high quality. And see, this impression of mine is getting reinforced. National security, substantive contributions, substantive conversations, people are interested in them. They take time, but there is an audience for substantive conversations in national security. So this whole national security ecosystem in this sense has to grow. Ideation, execution, partnerships, and somehow I think our time has come. We will strike it right this time.
Absolutely, sir. With minds like yours and so many others who are giving direction, I'm sure the next generation is going to come up with something really super. It was surprising that India can actually have a defense startup infrastructure, defense startup culture in this country, which we never thought that would be possible 5 years ago.
Whole credit
That
to
is
the
happening.
Prime Minister for that. Whole credit to the
Yeah,
Prime Minister for that. That's his
yeah,
idea.
yeah. So I'm sure,
And
sir, this will happen.
and one more thing I'll tell you. See, national security and geopolitics are extremely brutal. They are unforgiving of any lies. No spin works. The reality will hit you sooner or later. So this is one domain. Don't do any spin. It has to be hard facts, the truth, and work towards that truth. It is extremely brutal. Did you expect Pahalgam and what happened? Suddenly, yeah, we were expected to do what we were expected to do.
Thank you so much for this talk. I mean, there's a lot of learnings, as you said, which needs to be done, and India has a long way forward for being, a military power that we would dream of. And I wish, and as I was saying, I wish we can do it, and I wish we can do it well, and with,
Sure, we'll do it.
us.
Something tells
Yes,
me we'll do it.
absolutely, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Always insightful, and see you next time, sir. Jai Hind,
Thank you.
Jai
Great
Bharat.
pleasure. Thanks a lot. Thank
Bye
you.
bye, sir.
Bye, Adi.